शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। वेट्रिवेल् मुरुगनुक्कु हर हरोहरा। लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वतीहृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं। स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्प। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृते कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we'll do a review 18. Soumya, can you and Deepa, can you do half?
Sure, Rajeshri.
Sure, Rajeshri.
Okay. Pritu Charita Varnanam Jatasya Dhruvakula Eva Tunga Gitehe Angasya Vyajani Sutasa Venanama Yadosha Vyatita Matis मथिस राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत् पापोऽपि क्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्यो रूपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौख्ये मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभ दशामनायि वेनः तन्नाशात् खलजन भीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमिततादरोत्तादतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमिथते त्वमाविरासीः.
So on the third and fourth line, parimati, both lines, right? So tyaktade parimathitada. Similarly, fourth line, parimathite.
Okay. Tyaktage parimathitadathorudandate dordande parimathite tvamavirasihi vikyataf prituriti tapasopadishtaihi surtardyaif parinuta भावि भूरि वीर्यः वेनार्त्या कबलित संपदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तं निज धनुषा समामकार्षिः.
The last line, first word, akrantham. That's okay. Small correction. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्स्य युक्तैः देवादैः समुचित चारुभाजनेषु आनादिन्याभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दन् सुरभितनु अदूदुहस्त्वम् आत्मान्यजति मखैस्त्वयि त्रिधामना आरब्धे शततमवाजिमधे यागे स्पर्धालुशतमख एव नीचैव वेशा हृत्वा वशं तव तनयात् पराजितोऽभूत्.
Yeah, the third line matter, for a second. Third line matter, last word, nicha besho. Okay, third line, last word.
Nicha besho.
Besho, yeah, keep going.
देवेन्द्र मुहुरित वाजिनं हर्तं वहनौ तं मुनिपरमण्डले जुहुषौ रुन्धाने कमलभवे क्रतोस समाप्तौ साक्षात् त्वं मधुरिपो ऐक्षतास्वाम. Correct adu?
Aikshathas swayam swam on the last line, right?
Okay. Aikshatat swayam swam taddattam varamapulabhya bhikto mekam gangan ganante vihita padha kadapi devaha santrasatam muninivaham Hitani shasnai
Shamsan. Hitani shamsan.
Hitani shamsan etas. Oh, the eighth in the pakam.
Aichishtas.
Aichishtasana kumara. Aichishtasana kamu khana munina purasthat Vijnanam sanakamukoditham tadhanaha swatmanam swayam agamo vanata sevi tatradrukka pruta vapurisha satvaram me rogaugam prashamaya vatage vasin. Sri Krishnaya Parabramane Namaha. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's go with 19. So Prabha, you can be a student, and Tulsi, you can be a student first. Okay.
Rajeshi, ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்டா போடுங்க ராஜேஷி. ஏதான ஒரு ரெண்டு
Sure,
ஸ்டான்ஸாக்கு.
definitely. Maybe.
நான் சரியா சொல்லல, நீங்க மாத்திருங்க. But
அதை பத்தி கவலை இல்ல. Either you are repeating or you are reviewing or you are a student for the class. So maybe the 20 also you can take some stanzas today. No issues.
Okay, thank you, Rajesh.
So 19 is pracheta sa kathan. Prachetas, the phrase prachetas means their story. So prachetasa kathanu varnanam, which is a story of prachetas, which are 10 people here. So stanza 1. Pritostu napta pritudharma karmatah prachina barhir yuvatau shatadrutau prachetaso nama suchetasas sutan aji janatvat karunankuraniva. So this starts, right? So this is called as the Prithu Charitram we saw last. So this is now all going to be around the sons of and the Swayambhuva Manu and their grandsons and everything. So we saw the Prithu, the incarnation as Prithu in the previous chapter. So this Prithu's Napta means great grandson. So you all know Vishnu Sahasranam, it says Vyasam Vasishta Naptaram, right? Shakte Pautramakalmasham. So Vyasa is Vasishta's Napta, great grandson. Okay, so similarly the Prithu who we saw in the 18th Dasakam, his great grandson was a person called as Barhishat, right? Barhishat. So this Barhishat, he also liked Prithu because Prithu himself was an incarnation of the Lord. So because this Barhishat is a descendant of the Lord, he was also very religious and he was doing a lot of religious sacrifices. Now what he was doing was this Darba grass. He performed all the sacrifices such that the tip of the Darba grass was always pointing to the east. And that was what he was known for. He performs hundreds of sacrifices where the Darba grass was pointing to the east. So because east is also called as Prachi Disham, so he's called Prachina Barhishat. That becomes his name. So that means the one Barhishat who did all his sacrifices with the Darba grass pointing to the east, right? So anyway, he had done a lot of these yajnams and everything, and then so Brahma himself was satisfied and said that you have to marry this lady called Shatadruti, right? Because she is also very devoted and blessed, so you both have to marry. And then both of them were they performed the necessary penances and everything, and they then were blessed with 10 children. 10 pure children, just like the 4 Sanatana Kumaras, they were blessed with 10 children, and the 10 children together were called as Prachetas. So that is this is going to be the story of this Prachetas. So these are the story of this Prachetas, that the 10 children that they get. So Pritostu Napta Prithu Dharma Karmataha, comma Prachina Barhir Yuvatau Shatadrutau Prachetaso Nama Suchetasaha, you put a is Suchetasas Sutan, put a in. Next line the na becomes a Aji Janat Twat Karunankuraniva. Pritostu Napta Pritu Dharma Karmataha Prachina Barhir Yuvatau Shatadrutau Prachetaso Nama Suchetasas Sutan Aji Janatvat Karunankuraniva.
Pritustu napta pritudharma karmatah prachina barhir युवतौ शतद्रुतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणान् ऋणानिव पृतोस्तु नप्ता कर्मटः प्राचीनबर्हिर्युवतौ शतद्रुतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणान् कुरानिव
पृथोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्मकर्मटः प्राचीनबर्हिर्युवतौ शतद्रुतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव पृथोस्तु नप्ता पृथुधर्मकर्मटः प्राचीनबर्हिर्युवतौ शतद्रुतौ प्रचेतसो नाम सुचेतसः सुतान् अजीजनत्वत्करुणाङ्कुरानिव
Stanza 2. पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्. So these prachetas, right, they were very obedient sons. So when this Prachina Barhi says, we are all coming in the ancestry of Swayambhuva Manu. So by default, our responsibility is to get more children, so we expand on the civilization, right? So that is your duty. So Prachina Barhi says, I want all of you to go. Before you do anything, you have to first meditate, right? Get more blessed from the Lord, and then I want you to go spread the civilization, right? Get more children. So they also agree, and then what they do is they start going towards the Western Sea. So because they heard that's a very pious place, and we'll see where that place is, right? So they start heading towards the Western Sea. So when they start heading there, they then see a huge reservoir of water, like a lake, right? And before they hit the Western Sea. And when they see that lake, sometimes when you have to perform penance, you have to have the right ambience, right? And when they see the lake, they suddenly felt so pious. There was so much divinity in the lake, and it looked like all the aquatics which are living there, all the plants and everything around it was so conducive for meditation that they decide that this is the place where they actually want to go and spend some time meditating. So pituhu is there, put a is. Pitus sisriksha niratasya shasanat, and then put a plus. Bhavat tapasya bhirata dashapi te payonidhim paschimam etya tattate, comma, sarovaram sandadrishur manoharam. I think this manoharam, some books have some other word there, but if we have it, just change it to manoharam. पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्.
पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्. पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्.
पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे सरोवरं सन्ददृशुर्मनोहरम्.
The third line, Paschimametya tat tate.
Sure. Paschimametya. Sure. पितुस्सृक्षा निरतस्य शासनात् भवत्तपस्याभिरता दशापिते पयोनिधिं पश्चिममेत्य तत्तटे Sarovaram
Nothing that line again. Paschimam etya tat tate.
tattate. Payonidhim paschimametya tattate.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Sarovaram sandadrushormanoharam.
Stanza 3. Tadha bhavat tirtamidam samagato bhavo bhavat sevakadarshanadritah prakashamasadya purah prachetasam upadishat bhaktatamas tavastavam. So anytime you want to do, they say, right, if you're so determined to do something, the whole universe will come to support you, right? So similarly, they ended up picking a spot which was a very sacred spot, because in that spot was where Shiva and Parvati themselves were there. They were actually in that spot. So now here Bhattaripad is saying, this lake of yours, the word he actually uses, right, is Bhavat Tirtham Idam. So he's sitting in Guruvayur and saying that this lake of yours. So there's no explicit mention that this is in Guruvayur or near Guruvayur or anything of that sort. But the general reference point was that in Guruvayur there's a place called Mammiyur, which was what has been existing for thousands of years. Even before the word Guruvayur came, Mammiyur was famous, even before the Guruvayur idol was moved there, right? So that Shiva Kshetram has been there for a longer time. And they also indicate here that these Prachetas are going towards the western sea, right? And then they find the spot where Lord Shiva and Parvati are. And Bhattaripad also very nicely references as this lake of yours. He doesn't say there's any lake, right? So it's very possible it was somewhere in that region, right? This is just by reference only, right? No absolute thing. Anyway, so here, so when they are there, when they are sitting there and say, okay, you know what, we want to start meditating in this, right, in this waters. So suddenly Shiva comes in front of them. And Shiva comes and says, oh, sons of Prachina Barhis, I know what you all are here for. I know you all are trying to meditate first before you can actually go and, spread the children and everything. So he says, I am going to teach you, right? Because you are devoted to the Supreme Lord, who I am also devoted to. Let me teach you the mantra slokams, which you have to say to meditate on the Lord, right? So with this, Shiva actually composes what is called as a Rudra Gita. Just like we have Bhagavad Gita, right? There's something called as a Rudra Gita, which is composed by Lord Shiva towards Lord Narayana. And it is about 44 verses, this is there in Bhagavatam, right? It's not there in Narayaneeyam, but he just says, but Adhirpan just says that Shiva teaches them that. So Shiva says, you don't have to worry about anything. I'll teach you these 44 stanzas. You say these 44 stanzas every day for as long as you want. You are guaranteed, the blessings from the Lord, right? So he then says that, and Shiva disappears. So anyway, so here, so they get this 44 stanzas, and then the Shiva, then they start doing the meditation there. So tada bhavat tirtam idam samagato, bhavo bhavat sevaka darshanadritaha prakasham asadhya puraha, put f puraf, prachetasam, put a im. Next that mu becomes a u. Upadishat bhakta tamas tava sthavam. Tada bhavat tirtamidam samagato bhavo bhavat sevaka darshanadritah prakashamasadya purah prachetasam upadishat bhakta tamas tava sthavam.
तदा भवत्तीर्थमिदं समागतो भवो भवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशद्भक्ततमास्तवस्तवम्. तदा भवत्.
Sorry, and the last line, Prabha, last word, Bhaktatamas tavastavam.
Bhaktatamas-tavastavam.
Yeah.
Tada bhavat-tirtamidam samagato bhavo bhavat-sevaka-darshanadritah prakashamasadya purah prachetasam upadishad-bhaktatamas-tavastavam.
Bhaktatamas. So see, the Sanskrit, like the superlative degree is tama. So tara is like comparative, you're better. Tama is like the best. So bhakta tama means the greatest of your devotee, which is Lord Shiva. So, and I think that you are not saying some letter you're missing there. Bhakta tamas.
Bhakta tamas. Tavam.
Tava stavam.
Bhakta tamas tavastavam.
Tava, not tavas. Tava stavam.
Okay.
Okay.
And the tava, I think I missed.
Something, yeah, some letter you are missing there, yeah.
Bhakta tamas tavastavam.
Yeah, correct.
तदा भवद्भीर्तमिदं समागतो भवोपवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशत् भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम् तदा भवद्भीर्तमिदं समागतो भवोपवत्सेवकदर्शनादृतः प्रकाशमासाद्य पुरः प्रचेतसाम् उपादिशत् भक्ततमस्तवस्तवम्
Stanza 4. Stavam japantastamami jalantare bhavam tamase vishatayutam samaha bhavat sukaswadarasādamīshviyan bhabūva kālo dhruvavanna shīgrata. So Lord Shiva tells them that look, the Rudra Gita, what I'm going to sing to you was thought to be by Brahma himself. So when Brahma first creates Rudra, then Brahma first teaches Rudra this 44 verses and says that's how even I, Rudra says, I also started, before I started doing my work, I said this 44, right? Says that's what I'm going to teach you. So you all go and say this is nothing beats this. He says this is the best you can actually, pray, right? So these prachetas, and I was just telling this to the class yesterday, my Saturday morning, right? One of the 95 chapters or something. So there was a Krishna Uddhava. Before Krishna departs, he's giving Uddhava long messages, right? Lot of things he tells. So Krishna tells that your devotion should be such that you should not ask for anything. The moment you ask for something, that is not true devotion. It is still good. You can still pray, right? You can still say the slokas, everything, and then you say, please give me good health. Please give me, all of that is good. But he says the ultimate devotion is when you don't ask for anything. Because you should trust that the Lord knows what you want. Right? That is the amount of trust you need to have, right? So anyway, so he says you should absolutely love the journey of devotion, that you should not worry about whether I'm going to get something at the end of it or not. So this prachetas is a classic example. What they do is they go jalantare, they go under that water and they do this tapas. They do this tapas so much that, Bhattaripad says that when Dhruva was going and doing this tapas, in 5 months you showed up. It only took the Lord 5 months because Dhruva also did intense penance. But these people are also no different. They're also doing intense penance. But Dhruva was doing such a penance that I want to see you. I want you to come fast because he's a 5-year-old boy. So he's saying, I want you to come fast. He's doing severe penance. These prachetas are saying, you take your time. We are in no hurry for you to come. We are absolutely loving this journey of penance so much that they actually are there for 10,000 years. Right? So Ayutam Samaha, 10,000 years they are there. They're saying we take your time, you can take your time and relax, come because we're loving this meditation so much, praying to you. So that's what Bhattaripad says, that you did not come quickly because you realize that they love their meditation so much that you decided not to disturb them. So they are now meditating under the water for 10,000 years. Stavam Japantas Tamami Jalantare, comma, Bhavantam ase vishatayutam. That's one word. So Bhavantam ase vishatayutam samaha. Bhavat sukhaswada rasadamishviyan. Comma. Babhuva kalo dhruvavanna shigrata. Stavam japantas tamami jalantare bhavantamase vishatayutam samaha bhavat sukaswadarasādamīshviyan bhabhuva kalo dhruvavanna shigrata.
Stavam japantas tamami jalantare bhavantam ase vishatayutam samaha bhavat sukhas.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were saying something?
No. You got it. I think the second line I was trying to correct something.
Bhavat sukhaswadarasādamīshviyan bhabhuva kalo dhruvavanna shigrita. Japantas tamami jalantare भवन्तम् आसेविशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमेष्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रता.
Rajesh, first line la stavam japan tas tamamamiya.
You have japantaha.
No, japan tamamami. அப்படிதான் இருக்கு.
Japantas. It should be japantaha irukkanum, but it becomes that visarga becomes a is there. So stavam japantas.
Japantas. Okay. Tamamami.
Yeah, tamami.
Tamami. Okay.
स्तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रता. स्तवं जपन्तस्तममी जलान्तरे भवन्तमासे विशतायुतं समाः भवत्सुखास्वादरसादमीश्वियान् बभूव कालो ध्रुववन्न शीघ्रता.
Chance of 5. तपोभिरेषाम् अतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पापितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. So while these people, they the intensity of their penance keep increasing, their father was Prachina Barhis, right? So he had performed a lot of sacrifices, like we said, right? He kept the darbar facing the east. He's done several of those. So one day, what happened is, Narada visits Prachina Barhis and says that, like, why are you doing all these sacrifices? First of all, he asks him, because what is the intention of this? Because he says some of these things that you are doing, it is asking for something in return. So he says, if your ultimate goal, you are a king, you are a very big, massive, famous king who has a lot of money and everything. If your intent is for liberation, then he says you should not be performing all these sacrifices, because these sacrifices are destined to give you something in return. And the moment you want something in return, that means you are going to take birth again, maybe at an elevated level, but you're still going to take birth. You're going to get the benefits of that, number one. Number two, he says, is for performing these sacrifices for which you need benefits, you are sacrificing a lot of animals. And all of these animal sacrifices that you are doing is eventually come back to haunt you. So Narada says you should give up on all these things, and Narada then explains to them the concept of the Brahman, Atman, and all of these things, so that Prachina Barhis, although he's doing it with the right intention, he is also committing some sins unknowing to him along the way. But also what's happening is, because his children, the Prachetas, are performing all these things, that is also benefiting their father. So because of all the meditation that they are performing, even Prachina Barhis is getting purified, and eventually, because Narada himself comes and gives him the knowledge, he also gets purified, and eventually he attains your form like you. He gets liberated, right? Prachina Barhis gets liberated eventually. Tapo bhiresham ati matra vardhibihi, sa yajna himsa niratopi pavitaha pitapi tesham grihayata Narada, and then put a plus, pradarshitatma bhavadatmatam yayau. Tapo bhiresham atimatra vardhibihi sayajna himsa niratopi pavitah pitapi tesham grihayata Narada pradarshitatma bhavadatmatam yayau.
तपोभिरेषाम् अतिमात्रवर्धिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पापितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. तपोभिरेषाम् अतिमात्रवर्धिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पापितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ.
तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्तिभिः सयज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ. तपोभिरेषामतिमात्रवर्तिभिः स यज्ञहिंसा निरतोऽपि पावितः पितापि तेषां गृहयातनारद प्रदर्शितात्मा भवदात्मतां ययौ.
Stanza 6. कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः. So at the end of the 10,000 years of meditation that they do, finally Lord Bhagavan then decides it's time for me to appear in front of them. Now, majority of these appearances, it's always Chatur Bhujam. That's what it always says. So here it says Bhujabir Ashta Birudanchi. So in this case, the Lord comes with 8 hands. Because like I said, that the Rudra Gita on which these Prachetas are meditating is meditating on the form of the Lord which has got 8 hands. So that's the form the Lord comes, because that's what you've been thinking about for 10,000 years. So he comes on mounted on the Patagendra, means mounted on the Garuda, right, as a Vahana, and is coming with 8 hands. And then of course the Prachetas, they see and then they're happy and all that. So here he says, the Lord says, I'm very happy with all that you have been doing for 10,000 years. So he says, I really want to bless you, right? So you kind of, I think it's time that you cannot stop this, and I'm here to give you the blessings. So Kripa Bale Naiva Puraha, put a F, Purah Prachetasam, Prakasham Agaha, put a F, Agaf, Patagendra Vahanaha, Biraji Chakradi Varayudham Shubihi, put a Visarga there, with a Varayudham Shubihi, comma. Next line on top of that, the Bhu, that Ir goes away. Bhujabir Ashtabir. So I'll say that as 4 parts, but then you don't necessarily have to break it, but for your convenience. Bhujabir Ashtabir Udanchita Dyutihi. Those are the 4 words there. Okay. But you can easy for you to say it together. Bhujabir Ashtabirudanchita Dyutihi. कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
Prabha, one second.
कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां.
Yeah, I think your voice is breaking up. Can you try turning the video off?
I can't.
Oh, you're not able to hear?
Okay.
Seems to be some lag, looks like.
Now I heard there is a lot of delay.
Yeah. Neenga pesradum, there seems to be a lot of delay. So maybe somebody else, is it like Prabha's end or mine? Kekurdu, yeah.
Yeah, இப்ப கொஞ்சம் பெட்டரா இருக்கு நீங்க பேசுறது. There is no lag.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Okay. कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
I think this is better this time, yeah.
कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः. कृपाबलेनैव पुरः प्रचेतसां प्रकाशमागाः पतगेन्द्रवाहनः विराजिचक्रादिवरायुधांशुभिः भुजाभिरष्टाभिरुदञ्चितद्युतिः.
Stanza 7. प्रचेतसां तावदया च तामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभराद्वरानधाः भवत्पि चिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामधा. So although this Prachetas, they did not want anything in return, right? So because they had kind of at that point they said we don't want anything, you like whatever you want, right? It's kind of what they're saying to the Lord. So however, the God says, okay, couple of things. One is it's very rare that 10 brothers are in such unanimous agreement on what they want to do and remain united also through all of these things. So he says that itself is a greatness. So he says, so the Lord says, whoever remembers the story of yours, right, every day will they will be blessed with good relationship with other living beings, because prachetas are an example of how you can be all focused on a single goal and not contradict each other and do things together, right? That is number one. Second, he says the prayers which Rudra Gita, which you also offered, he says that also whoever chants every day, right, in the morning and the evening, will be blessed with whatever they want and good intelligence and all of that stuff. And then he says to you, O Prachetas, actually that comes to the next one, so I'll wait for that. So anyway, so that is what the Lord actually blesses them in this son. So Prachetasam, I think some books are Prachetasa, you just put a im if you don't have it. Prachetasam tavada yacha tam api, comma, tvameva karunya bharadvaranadaha bhavat vichintapi shivaya dehinam, comma, bhavat vasau rudranutishcha kamada. प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभरात्वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामदा.
प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभराद्वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामदा. प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभराद्वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवद्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामदा.
प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभरात्वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामदा. प्रचेतसां तावदयाचतामपि त्वमेव कारुण्यभरात्वरानदाः भवद्विचिन्तापि शिवाय देहिनां भवत्वसौ रुद्रनुतिश्च कामदा.
Stanza 8. Avapyakantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadvam dashalakshavatsariim sutostu daksho nanu tatkshanaachamam prayasyate tinyagato mudaivatan. So he says, the main intent of them doing the penance was because Prachina Barhis wanted them to expand, right? So he says, okay, you will. So he says, you go and marry this girl whose name is Marisa. Marisa is the name of that lady. So you're going to go get married to her, and you are then going to have a lot of children. One of the children is going to be Daksha, and we'll cover that in the next few stanzas, right? And then there's a story behind this. So what happens is, there was this sage called Kandu, Kandu. So he was, doing a lot of it. And anytime anybody does a lot of this Ashwamedha yagyas or too much austerities, Indra suddenly feels troubled, right? Because he feels like his slot is getting taken. So what he does is he sends this an Apsara called as Pramalocha or Pramlocha or something like that. She sends an Apsara and she now tries to disrupt the sage Kandu's thing, and Kandu then succumbs to it, and for both of them a daughter is born. That daughter is this Marisa. So this Pramalocha then goes back to Indraloka after her job is done, right? So this Pramalocha is now growing up, or sorry, this Marisa is growing up. So then Lord says, you then go and you're going to find that Marisa is growing up in a forest. So you go, you're going to find her, and when you find her, all 10 of you are going to marry, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the next stanza. All 10 of you are going to marry her, and then you're going to get a lot of children, one of them being Daksha, and then eventually all of you will attain me. You will then get liberated. So avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham, taya ramadvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu tat kshanacha mam, prayasyateti nyagato mudaiva tan. Avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu tat kshanacha mam prayasyateti nyagato mudaiva tan.
Second line Ramadvam Dashalaksha
Vatsarim.
Vatsarim. Okay.
Vatsarim. Vatsarim im. Yeah.
Sorry. Avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadhvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu takshanascha mam prayasyateti nyagado mudaivatan. Avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadhvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu tatkshanascha mam prayasyateti nyagado mudaivatan.
Avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadhvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu takshanacha mam prayasyateti nyagato mudaivatan. Avapya kantam tanayam mahiruham taya ramadhvam dasalaksha vatsarim sutostu daksho nanu takshanacha mam prayasyateti nyagato mudaivatan.
Stanza 9. Tataschate bhutalarodinastarun kruda dahanto druhinena varitaha drumaischa dattam tanayam avapyatam twadukta kalam sukhino bhire mire. So finally, when these prachetas come out of the water, right, after this 10,000 years, they see that, there are trees which were grown all over that area and everything. So I don't know the detailed story, but then they decide to somehow get rid of all the trees, and Brahma comes and says, don't do all that. Trees are good and all. Anyway, all of that happens. But the main thing is they didn't get married to this Marisa, right? So here, so the interesting thing was in Mahabharata, when Draupadi, right, when the Pancha Pandavas are getting married to Draupadi, right? You all know the story. Kunti says, whatever it is, you all share and all that, right? And all 5 of them get married to Draupadi. So at that time, Draupadi, and they all come and meet with Krishna and say, is this even allowed? That how is like one lady getting married to 5 people, 5 men, right? What is allowed? So then Krishna then gives them the example of this prachetas. They say, not that it's recommended that, one person marries 5 person and all that, but he says, even if you have a situation where it happens, you should follow how the prachetas followed, right? How they actually followed, and that's where the rules were set, right, for the Pancha Pandavas also, of how one person can be only with one lady and the others should not interrupt, all these things. He says, he references the story of prachetas, saying these prachetas were so tight amongst each other that they all married one, right, for the sake of growing this creation, and they had absolutely no conflicts, nothing, and they followed the dharma by doing it. So he says it's not against the dharma. It is only what you do after that, right? That you should behave in the right way and all of that. That's a long explanation Krishna gives, right? So he references the story of Prachetas, right? The 10 brothers marrying that one, this lady. So anyway, so they then end up marrying that Marisa, right? And then they lived for several years. They lived happily after. So tataschate bhutala rodhinas tarun, kruda dahanto druhinena varitaha drumaischa dattam tanayam avapya tam, twadukta kalam sukhinobhiremire. Tataschate bhutalarodhinastarun kruda dahanto druhinena varitaha drumaischa dattam tanayam avapyatam twadukta kalam sukhinobhiremire.
ततश्च ते भूतलरोधिनस्तरून् क्रुधा दहन्तो द्रुहिणेन वारिताः द्रुमैश्च दत्तां तनयामवाप्यतां त्वदुक्तकालं सुखिनोभिरेमिरे ततश्च ते भूतलरोधिनस्तरून् क्रुधा दहन्तो द्रुहिणेन वारिताः द्रुमैश्च दत्तां तनयामवाप्यतां त्वदुक्तकालं सुखिनोभिरेमिरे
ततश्च ते भूतलरोतिनरस्तरून् क्रुधा दहन्तो द्रुहिणेन वारिताः द्रुमैश्च दत्तां तनयामवाप्यतां त्वदुक्तकालं सुखिनोभिरेमिरे ततश्च ते भूतलरोधिनस्तरून् क्रुधा दहन्तो द्रुहिणेन वारिताः द्रुमैश्च दत्तां तनयामवाप्यतां त्वदुक्तकालं सुखिनोभिरेमिरे.
Right, let's just switch. Gopiji, Vikram, you can be students. Stanza 10. Avapya daksham chasutam kridatmaraha pracetaso naradalabdhaya diya avapurananda padam tatha vidaha tvamisha vatalayanatha pahimam. So what happens is this Daksha, who first came from Brahma directly, right? That we covered earlier, how all of them came. So Daksha also, he's not born in the womb, right? And he's not born like the normal method of birth, right? Because the first set of people all came directly from the mind of Brahma, body of Brahma, all those things. But because this Daksha wasn't, that whole incident happened between Daksha and Shiva and everything. So Daksha then had to take another birth because of course he lost his head and then he was replaced and then Daksha had to take birth again. So this time, and it's like it's like a degradation to be born through the womb of a person, because these people are all great gods and demigods who are born without having to go through the birth process, right? But here Daksha was in this is one level, he is coming down, because of which he is then born to a Kshatriya now. Previously he was born to Brahma, he is now being born to this Prachetas. So he is born as a child through the womb of Marisa, that Prachetas' wife. And then, however, this Daksha, however, because of the blessings, because he's at the end of the day, he was born as a son of Brahma. So because of the greatness he had, and because of him realizing all his mistakes and everything, he still had retained a lot of that knowledge. But he still had to be born, right, at this rate. So anyway, but he continued then, because of the blessings he had, he also continued that whole creation process in the previous Manvantara, the Chakshushla Manvantara, which is the sixth Manvantara. Daksha was also the primary person. He's the Prajapati, means who was responsible for leading the creation and everything in the sixth Manvantara. So that was the story of Daksha that continues there. However, these Prachetas eventually, for all of them, Narada has to come and finally give the check mark certification, right? It's like, when you take all these tests, somebody has to come and finally do a quiz, right? That is Narada. Just like for Prachina Barhis, here also for them, Prachetas, Narada comes, he then teaches them the final missing knowledge, and then they all get liberated and then merge into you. So that Lord of Guru, please protect me. So, Avapya Daksham cha sutam kritadvaraha pracetaso narada labdhaya dhiya ava purananda padam tatha vidaha, put a visarga there, comma, next line is goes away, tvamisha vatalaya natha pahimam. Avapyadaksham chasutam kritadvaraha pracetaso naradalabdhaya diya avapurananda padam tata vidaha tvamisha vatalayanatha pahimam.
Avapyadaksham chasutam kritadvaraha pracetaso naradalabdhaya dhiya avapurananda padam tata vidaha tvamisha vatalayanatha pahimam. Avapyadaksham chasutam kritadvaraha pracetaso naradalabdhaya dhiya avapuranandapadam tadha vidaha tvamisha vatalayanatha pahimam.
Avapyadaksham cha sutam kritadvaraha pracetaso naradalabdhaya diya avapuranandapadam tatha vidaha tvamisha vatalayanatha pahimam. अवाप्य दक्षं च सुतं कृताध्वराः प्रचेतसो नारदलब्धया धिया अवापुरानन्दपदं यथा तथाविधः त्वमीशवातालयनाथ पाहि माम्.
Rajeshri, we can't hear you.
Mute looking.
Mute like.
Oh, sorry. So that completes 19. So Dashakam 20 is Rishabha Yogishwara Charita Varnanam. So Rishabha, that's like how we.
Sorry, going back to chapter 19, is there a reason why they're talking about the Darbar facing the east direction?
I don't know why. I don't know what the context of that is, but I don't know why he did it facing the east. If that is your question, I don't know why the reason for that. But that's how he did.
Significance irka east side la vekkirnalanga.
Generally, we keep it on all four sides. It's facing all four directions.
Correct.
But this Prachina Barkis, I don't know why, I don't know what the significance or why he kept it all facing east. But for some reason, maybe there must be some reason for it, which he did, right? So, because of which he got that name, Prachina Barkis. I don't know the reason. But nowadays, any homam we do, it's kept on all four sides. It's facing all four directions, right? So 20 is Rishabha Yogishwara Charita Varnanam. So like we said, everybody knows only the top 10 avatars, but there are a lot of other avatars like Kapilo Avataram, which all we saw. Then we also saw Prithu Charitram, where also the Lord was born as Prithu. Similarly, the Rishabha Yogishwara is also one of the avatars of the Lord itself. So his name is Rishabha and he's a Yogishwara. Yogishwara means one who has the greatest of control over the senses. So Yoga Ishwara. Right? So that's why it's called Rishabha Yogishwara, but the name is Rishabha here. So stanza 1. Priyavradasya Priyaputra Bhutate Agnidra Raja Dudito Hinabihi Tvam Drishtavanishtatamishti Madhye Tavaiva Tushtye Krita Yajna Karma. So that Swayambhuva Manu, right? Like the various children he had, one was that Uttanapada, which was Dhruva Charitram, which we kind of saw that. Then his other son is named called as Priyavrata. So this is the next story, next lineage is starting. This Priyavrata had a son called as Agnidhara. So that Agnidhara had another son called as Nabi. So that is the hierarchy they're giving. So it's like the Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrata, Agnidhara, and then Nabi. This Nabi had, was married to a person called Meru Devi. So they, they did not have any children. So they then performed this Ishtadam Ishti Madhye. So this Yajnam called is the Ishtakameti Yajnam, which means you perform the Yajnam, whatever you desire, you will get. That is what Dasharatha also performed. Dasharatha performed the Pushtakami Yajnam, where he said that I need children, right? But however, here you can perform any Yajnam you want. But anyway, this person also performs this Yajnam where because they did not have a child. And then finally, when they perform the Yajnam, the Lord is about to come now. So Priya Vratasya Priya Putra Bhutat put it. Next time the da becomes a. Agnidhra Raja Dudito hi Nabihi Tvam Drishtavan Ishtadam Ishti Madhye. I'll break that again if you want. Drishtavan Ishtadam Ishti Madhye, comma Tavaiva Tushtye Krita Yajna Karma. Priyavradasya Priyaputra Bhutate Agnidhra Raja Dudito Hinabihi Tvam Drishtavanishtatamishti Madhye Tavaiva Tushtye Krita Yajna Karma.
प्रियव्रतस्य प्रियपुत्रभूतात् आग्निधराज दुदितो हि नाभिः त्वां दृष्टवानिष्टदमिष्टिमध्ये तवैव तुष्ट्यै कृतयज्ञकर्म प्रियव्रतस्य प्रियपुत्रभूतात् आग्निधराज दुदितो हि नाभिः त्वं दृष्टवानिष्टदमिष्टिमध्ये तवैव तुष्ट्यै कृतयज्ञकर्मा.
प्रियव्रतस्य प्रियपुत्रभूतात् आग्नेयराजा दुदितो हि नाभिः त्वां दृष्टवानिष्टदमिष्टिमध्ये तवैव तुष्ट्यै कृतयज्ञकर्मा. प्रियव्रतस्य प्रियपुत्रभूतात् अग्निध्रराजादुदितो हि नाभिः त्वां दृष्टवानिष्टिदमिष्टमध्ये तवैव तुष्ट्यै कृतयज्ञकर्मा
Become a third line. Drishtavan ishtadam ishti.
दृष्टवानिष्टदमिष्टि.
Yeah. Okay. And Gopiji, sorry, I was correcting you, but then I realized I was on mute. The third line, first word is twam. Okay. Second time, I think you said twam.
Okay,
Gopiji,
Tvam.
twam.
Okay.
Yeah. अभिष्टुतस्तत्र मुनीश्वरैस्त्वं राज्ञस्वतुल्यं सुतमर्त्यमानः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोदधा बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते. So from the Agni now, the Lord comes. So then the priests who are there, all sitting there, they're coming, they start praying to the Lord. They're saying, what, we just come to a realization, because sometimes later on you realize things after you've done it. They say, we now realize that why are we putting all these offerings for you in the fire? Because it's not like you want all these offerings, right? But they say, you have to forgive us. We now realize that we are putting this because we want to put it, not that you ask for it, right? So, and then they go and praise the Lord, and they say, this Nabi who is here, on whose behalf we are doing this yajnam here, he wants to have a son just like you, right? It's not like he just wants a son, he wants a son just like you. And he says, this is like us. He's like a guy who's going to a very rich person, and then if you go to a really rich person and you ask, can you just give me a handful of grains, right? That's like an insult to that rich person. So these people are saying, what, we are ignorant so much that you have appeared in front of us, and instead of asking for liberation, we are coming and asking you, please give this Nabi a son, right? It's like a waste of your time also, but he says, but that's what this Nabi wants. So he wants a son who is exactly like you. So the Lord says, okay, I cannot give a son who is exactly like me, but he says, I myself will have a avataram, or I'll have an incarnation where a portion of my energy is going to be born to Nabhi and Meru Devi, right? So I'm going to be born as Nabhi and Meru Devi's son, right? With that, then the Lord disappears into the fire. So abhishtutas tatra munishwarais tvam, rajnyaha, put is rajnyas swatulyam sutam artyamanaha swayam janishyeham bruvanaha, put a visarga and comma. Next line is goes away. Tirodhada barhishi vishwamurte. अभिष्टुतस्तत्र मुनीश्वरैस्त्वं राज्ञस्वतुल्यं सुतमर्त्यमानः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोधदा बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते.
अभिष्टुततस्त्र मुनीश्वरैस्त्वं राज्ञस्वतुल्यं सुतम् अर्धमान्यः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोदधा बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते.
See that second line, last word, sutam artyamanaha.
Sutam artyamanaha.
Yeah, and the fourth line, barhishi. Ir is after the ba, barhishi.
Barhishi, okay. Abhishtutatасtra munishwaraistvam Rajna swatulyam sutam arthyamanaha swayam janishyehhamiti bruvanaha tirodadha barhishi vishwamurte.
The first word, right? Abhishtutas.
Abhishtutatасtra.
No, Abhishtutas tatra.
Okay, Abhishtutatatra. Okay.
Yeah, I think you are saying tatas or something, right? Abhishtutas tatra.
Okay, sure.
अभिष्टुतस्तत्र मुनीश्वरैस्त्वं राज्ञस्वतुल्यं सुतमर्थ्यमानः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोदधा बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते. अभिष्टुतस्तत्र मुनीश्वरैस्त्वं राज्ञस्वतुल्यं सुतमर्थ्यमानः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोदधा बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते.
Answer 3. नाभिप्रियायामतमेरुदेव्यां त्वमं शतो भूर्षभाभिधानः आलोकसामान्यगुणप्रभावप्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः. So now to this Nabhi and Meru Devi was born a son. Lord himself was born as one of his expansions. And and then when the baby was born itself, they could see signs, right? Because when the Lord is born, then at the bottom of his feet and on his palms, there were symbols of the chakram and all that. So the sages knew, okay, this is the Lord himself who's actually taken avataram here. And the son, even when he was very small and he was growing up, he was very peaceful. He somehow had a very good control over his senses and his mind and everything. And then he seemed like he was one of those ideal person. So because he was so perfect, and whatever is required of a human being, he had all those good qualities. Then this Nabi named him as Rishabha. Rishabha here means the best. So he is the best son that is possible, and he had all the best qualities. So he was named as Rishabha. So Nabhi Priyayamata Meru Devyam, comma, Tvam, it's Tvam Amshato Bhur, but you can say it together. Tvam Amshato Bhur Rishabhabhidhanaha Aloka Samanya Guna Prabhava, and then put a plus, Prabha Vitashesha Jana Pramodaha. नाभिप्रियायामतमेरुदेव्यां त्वमंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः आलोकसामान्यगुणप्रभावप्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः.
नाभिप्रियायामधमेरुदेव्यां त्वम् अंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः आलोकसामान्यगुणप्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः. नाभिप्रियायामधमेरुदेव्यां त्वम् अंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः आलोकसामान्यगुणप्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः.
नाभिप्रियायां मथमेरुदेव्यां त्वमंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः प्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः. नाभिप्रियायां मथमेरुदेव्यां त्वमंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः आलोकसामान्यगुणप्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः.
त्वहि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते. So because he had such a ideal virtuous son, so this Nabhi also was becoming more powerful every day. And at one point this Nabhi realized that this Rishabha Deva, he was like an ideal son, and he was following all the rules, and he also felt like all the citizens of the country also liked him a lot, and he was following all the religious Vedic principles. So he said, it is time for me to retire. So Nabhi and his wife Meru Devi then eventually leave, and then they go to Bhadarikashrama, where they go meditate on Narayanayana, and they all get liberated. And then this Nabhi, this Rishabha now takes over the reins of the kingdom. So, Tvai Triloki Bhriti Rajyabharam, comma, Nidhaya Nabihi, put a S, Nabis Saha Meru Devya Tapovanam Prapya Bhavan Nishevi, comma, Gataha, put a X on Gatah Kilananda Padam Te. त्वहि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते.
त्वयि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते. त्वयि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते.
त्वयि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते. त्वयि त्रिलोकी भृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नाभिः सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवी गतः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते।
Chance of 5. Indrastvadutkrsha kritadamarshate vavarshanaasminna jana bhavarshe yada tada tvam nija yoga shaktya swavarshamena vyadada suvarsham. So now when this Rishabha Deva becomes, more powerful, and then Indra, again, the same story is going to repeat. Indra then becomes worried about it. So this time what he does is, because Indra, although we saw in the Govardhana Dharanam, is like, when Krishna says you don't have to worship Indra, it's Indra's responsibility, right? It has to follow the rule. You don't have to pay somebody for them to follow the rule. However, Indra can also go disrupt. So he decides to hold off any rain and everything. However, Rishabha Yogeshwara here, because he's so powerful in the sense, in the yoga thing, because of the Maya potency that he has, he's then able to bring water onto the land and then combat against Indra. So this goes over 2 stanzas, but in this stanza, pretty much he's able to win over Indra and then get water into the land. So Indras Twadutkarsha Kritada Marshat, put a it at the end of that line, comma. Next line, the dwa that you have becomes a va. Bavarsha nasmin na jana bhavarshe. Nasmin na jana bhavarshe. Yada tada tvam nija yoga shaktya, comma. Swa varshamenad vyadadhaha. Is there put a is? Vyadadhas suvarsham. Indrastvadutkrsha kritadamarshate vavarshanaasminna jana bhavarshe yada tada tvam nija yoga shaktya swavarshamena vyadada suvarsham.
Indrastyudarkarsha kritadamarshad vavarshanaasminna jana bhavarshe yada tada tvam nija yoga shaktya swavarshamenat vadadha suvarsham.
Vyadadhas suvarsham.
Vyadadhat suvarsham. Indrastudutkarsha kritadamarshad vavarshanaasminna jana bhavarshe yada tada tvam nija yoga shaktya swavarshamenat vyadadha suvarsham.
इन्द्रस्त्वदुत्कर्षकृतादमर्षात् व्यवर्षनास्मिन् जना भवर्षे यदा तदा त्वं निजयोगशक्त्या स्ववर्षमेनाद्यदधा सुवर्षम् इन्द्रस्त्वदुत्कर्षकृतादमर्षात् ववर्षनास्मिन् जना भवर्षे यदा तदा त्वं निजयोगशक्त्या स्ववर्षमेनाद्यदधा सुवर्षम्.
So we'll do a couple more and then we can stop today. Jitendra Dattam Kamanim Jayantim Ato Dvahannatmarata Shahyopi Aji Janastatra Shatam Tanujan Esham Kshitisho Bharato Grajanma. So because Indra then was defeated, not like a real war per se, but because he overcame the power of Indra, then Indra then gave his daughter called as Jayanti in marriage to Rishabha. So now this Rishabha and Jayanti then get married, and then they follow all the Smriti's rules of the Samskara and everything. And to them are born 100 sons, 100 children are born to them. And the first one of the one who is the best was called as a Bharata. So it says that is why, I think one of the things is the Shakuntala Dushyanta, because son Bharata was born in India, is called Bharata. But it says this was because of this Bharata who then establishes that Bharata Varsha, that entire area. See, because Bharata Varsha is beyond India, it's that entire region that is there, right? So that Bharata was established after this Bharata is born. So anyway, so to them is born as a first born son is called as Bharata. Jitendra Dattam Kamanim Jayantim, put a im, Jayantim. Next in the ma becomes a ar. Atodvahan Atmarata Shayopi. So Atodvahan Atmarata, but then the 2 nas come there. So atotvahan natmarata shayopi ajijanas tatra shatam tanujan in. Put a in and a comma. Next line ne becomes a. Esham kshitisho bharatogra janma. जितेन्द्र दत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीं अतोद्वहन्नात्मरताशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरतोऽग्रजन्मा.
जितेन्द्र दत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीम् अधोद्वहन् आत्मरताशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरतोऽग्रजन्मा. जितेन्द्र दत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीम् अधोद्वहन् आत्मरताशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरतोऽग्रजन्मा.
जितेन्द्र दत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीम् अतोद्वहन्नात्मरताशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरतोऽग्रजन्मा. जितेन्द्र दत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीम् अतोद्वहन्नात्मरथाशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरतोऽग्रजन्मा.
Do one stanza and stop. Nava bhavan yogivara navanye tvapalayan bharatavarsha saikatwashitistava sheshaputraha tapobhalad bhusura bhuyamiyuhu. So what happens is that 9 of the out of the 100 children, the one is Bharata, then the other 9 actually become great yogis. Other 9 remaining 9 actually start ruling over the various portions. So I think in the next Dasakam, which is the Jambu Dvipa, we saw the various regions, right? We kind of saw like Ailavrita and then Harivarsha. We saw all those various regions in the map. So each of them start ruling or taking over one of those various regions of the earth. And then the rest of them kind of just decide that they don't want to marry, they don't want to do anything, and then they attain they just merge with Brahman itself, and that's how all the 100 children are going about. So Nava Bhavan Yogivara Navanye, and then put a plus, Tvapalayan Bharata Varsha Khandan Saika Tvashitastava Shesha Putraha, put a visarga and comma, Putraha. Is goes away. Next line. Tapobalat bhusura bhuyam iyuhu. So the next 3 stanzas, 8, 9, 10 are going to be more about Rishabha Yogishwara himself. So that's why I'll defer it to the next class because we won't have time today and we can get into a little bit of details about what he does, what Rishabha Yogishwara does. Nava bhavan yogivara navanye tvapalayan bharatavarshha khandan saikatwashitastava shesha putraha tapobhalad bhusura bhuyamiyuhu.
नवः भवन् योगिवरा नवान्ये त्वपालयन् भारतवर्षखण्डान् सैकात्वशीतिस्तव शेषपुत्राः तपोबलाद् भूसुरभूयमीयुः. नवा भवन् योगिवरा नवान्ये त्वपालयन् भारतवर्षखण्डान् सैकात्वशिस्तव शेषपुत्राः तपोबलात् भूसुरभूयमीयुः.
नवा भवन् योगिवरा नवान्ये त्वपालयन् भारतवर्षखण्डान् सैकात्वशीतस्तव शेषपुत्राः तपोबलाद् भूसुरभूयमीयुः. नवा भवन् योगिवरा नवान्ये त्वपालयन् भारतवर्षखण्डान् सैकात्वशीतस्तव शेषपुत्राः त्वपोबलाद् भूसुरभूयमीयुः.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. In the class here today. सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone. So I think we finished around, I think 13, I think 3 more stanzas left, which we'll finish next class, right? So we'll finish 13 dasakams in this new session. So next week, let's do a review. So I'm just going to list all the dasakams in the WhatsApp group. You all can sign up against whichever ones you want to do for next class. Okay.
Thank you.
Next class on Sunday or Thursday?
Amma, what do you guys want to do? I'm okay either way.
I don't know.
Thursday, Rajesh ji.
Gopiji, you'll be able to
If
accommodate.
Thursday is convenient for you, that's fine with me too.
It's okay for me. I think Vikram, Gopi, few others had challenges with Thursday. That's why we were kind of moving it. But I know I was checking. Gopiji, what do you think? You'll be able to accommodate?
Yeah, sure, Rajesh. Yeah, I will make it.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, I will make it.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So we can go back to Thursday. No issues for me either way. So. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.